So my name is Helene Wahlgren, and I am one of the founders of the Swedish campaign in the A22 Network, Återställ våtmarker. That means restore wetlands in English. I will just tell you shortly about the network, and then I will pass on to so that we can hear from some of the campaigns. All right, so A22 Network is an international network of projects in, for the moment, 10 countries. And projects have come and gone, but many of the campaigns that were a part of the network from the very beginning in late 2021 are still here in the network. So what is A22 Network? Well, we wanted to do something different than previous climate movements. We wanted to do something in a completely new way to change our societies. So we sat on the highways and we showed up sort of everywhere, at sport galas, on live television, live-sent television, at art museums, at public events. And we have, I would say, created and continue to create complete media storms in our different countries. And we often reach out internationally as well. So the idea about A22 Network is that we work with clear, simple dilemma demands that we put forward to our different governments. And we demand the most obvious to save us from climate hell that will destroy the very foundations of our societies. And yes, we have been disruptive as hell. We have disrupted because it's our damn right to disrupt our sick, unsustainable societies. But we have done that in a completely peacefully way, and we have been completely open. So during these 4 years that the network has existed, we, the people in the different projects, we have exchanged experiences. We have learned from each other, and we have received support when the repression has hit us with full force, because that happened. And we have been in countless Zoom meetings, in many working groups for I would say thousands of hours. And there is a small group on international level that coordinates all the meetings. And working groups, they have varied from time to time, but there has been international working groups on concerns that like media work, fundraising, action tactics, cultural actions, mobilization, organization, and strategic work, and so on and so on. And we have great support as well from the group working on Catalyst. That's important to say. And we have a board that consists of members from all the core teams from the different projects. And core teams are small teams, up to 6 people, that have responsibility for their project, and they own some of the more heavy mandates. So we were just ordinary people. We are just ordinary people, like teachers, like plumbers, nurses, students, engineers of all ages. But I would say that together we have gained profound experience in strategic work and how to do peaceful, very disruptive actions to achieve goals to have an effect on our societies. And we have also learned to turn repression into strategic advantages. And we have learned together when to declare victory and how to capitalize on them, and how and when to take the next step. And of course, after 4 years, some projects have developed new strategies, but I would say within the same spirit. So just to make it a bit more clear, we talk about that we have a DNA that we follow, and very, very short. These are some points of the DNA. We are the last generation that can do anything about this bloody mess we're in. And we are a revolutionary project. And we always say that our opponents sit at the top. We are telling the truth, the uncomfortable truth, and we use like no political language. And of course, as I said, we do peaceful, highly disruptive actions day after day after day. And we also work with strategic polarisation to win and to capture the public's imagination. And also, most important, we are prepared to sacrifice ourselves without being the victims. And we are non-violent relating. The love message for us in the A22 network is at the very core. And we are in service of the revolution. So, in short, we have learned by doing. We don't talk really, but we make. We make the change we want to see, and we do that in actions upon actions upon actions. And I would say that we are the power of action manifested by doing actions day by day upon day upon day. And this until you end up on remand or in prison. And the goal has always been to sort of overwhelm the legal system to break through. I will just end with like a 20-second story. Twice a year, we try to meet in real life, all these projects. And it's not only Europe. We have a project in Canada and also in New Zealand. But we try to meet twice a year. And I remember very, very well the very first time we met outside Amsterdam. And the Swedish gang, we were the last ones to arrive. And when we arrived, all the members of these different core teams from the different projects, they were gathered around this huge table. And I was so deeply moved to see these people. And many of them were very young, like smart, brave, dedicated people, all gathered around a single table. And when I think about it. And this is A22 Network. And I am very proud of it. So that was my introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen. Yeah, I can attest to all of that, having met a lot of people in the A22 network. So what we'll do now is we'll have a little go around. Everyone can kind of explain what their specific project is doing, a little bit about them, because obviously this is a global network, so you can see it in a lot of different flavors. So who would like to go first? Let's go to Marie. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Can I share my screen and we have a short presentation?
Yes.
Yeah.
You should be able to.
Okay. Yes, so welcome everyone. Thanks for being here and listen to our projects. I will quickly, so my name is Marie and I'm together with Rival. We are presenting Act Now. We are a Swiss movement for non-violent climate action, and we will tell you a bit more where we are now and what we've been doing in the past and where we're going. So, Rival, I'll let you first start.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As you know, the climate catastrophe is spiraling out of hand and fascism is taking control all over the place, all over the world. So we built a movement called Act Now. Formerly, it was Renovate Switzerland. It has been part of the A22 network since the beginning. And we've learned a lot about civil resistance, civil disobedience. We also did a lot of disruptive actions. Some of them gain attention in the international medias. Maybe you've seen about the interruption of an orchestra in Switzerland. It was us. So yeah, it was a lot of learning, experiencing. We also launched a second campaign called Liberate Switzerland, which was about liberating our country from the fossil fuel-driven transportation cars. And now we are at a bit of a third phase, and we try to do different stuff. Marie, maybe you can pass it to the next. Thank you. And just to give you a quick overview of what we are doing, what is our reason of being, our DNA, we gathered our DNA in a few phrases, which are resist climate injustices, confronting denial, and healing together. And we try to bring two approaches that are complementary, which are the hand that says stop, which is basically like bringing tension, conflict into society, confronting the status quo, and which are basically all the actions that you can see in the media, and the open hand, which is bringing something new, being reconciliative, trying to heal, to reconnect the people and bring dialogue. So we try really to do both. And to do this, we are currently developing 3 strategic axes, which are raising awareness, building capacities, and confronting the status quo.
Yes, thank you. And I will tell you a few things about the first strategic axe, which is about raising awareness and spreading information. And for this, like alongside the communication activities that we do anyway on a daily basis, we're planning to launch a podcast beginning of next year, and we have two goals for this. So one is to promote and really also embody our vision for the society. So embody really this radically democratic vision and a culture of nonviolence in society, and spreading this word through the podcast. And the other goal is also to give voice to this silent majority we hear a lot about. So like these 80-ish% of the population that actually want stronger climate action but don't say so in public. And the second strategic axe is really about building internal capacities and putting alternatives into practice. And for this, we have mainly first one project that we launched this year, which is called the Nonviolence Academy. And because we noticed that like over the past few years, like Ellen said, we gathered so much experience, so many things that we learned, and we felt the need really to share what we learned about our activism, about the philosophy and practice of nonviolence, about direct action, shared governance. And here the goal is really to build our capacities, to build the capacity of the broader Swiss climate movement, to share knowledge, to grow stronger. And so it's a 6 months online program that consists of 7 online courses and 2 practical weekends. And 40 people have participated so far. It's open to everyone speaking either French or German. Yes, and there is also another project that we haven't started yet, but we are thinking of quite a lot because also other countries are doing that. It's to organize popular assemblies at local level in a way to enhance democratic practices. Because even in a country like Switzerland, democracy is not as perfect as what one might think. And I let Rival present the last strategic axe.
Yeah, I will try to be as fast as possible. So our last axe, confronting the status quo, is basically a new campaign that we launched in September 2025 this year. And we are aiming to confront the oil industries in Switzerland, and our campaign is called Oil Kills, in reference to a phase of action that we did with the A22 Network in 2024. And we first sent them letters to invite them to respond to a very simple demand, which would be to apply warning stickers on all the oil pumps that they own in Switzerland. And the stickers would be similar to the one on the packages of the cigarettes. And it is like a dilemma demand, because either way, we win. If they refuse, we can build on injustices and bring mediatic attention on their inaction. And if they respond, yes, we will do it, well, it's a first little step towards a better world where information is shared and truth is being brought out in the public sphere. So yeah, this is a quick agenda of our campaign, but I won't take longer since I know other groups are waiting. So thank you for everything.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your attention, and follow us on Instagram, contact us, whatever. You can find us on Instagram. Yes, sorry. Thank you.
Brilliant job. Amazing. That sounds fantastic. Great work, guys. Next, pass over to Henning.
Hello, everyone. I don't have a presentation. I might show one picture later, but I'm happy to be able to present a little bit about Neue Generation, so new generation, the project in Germany that has been created this February this year. And it's a follow-up project out of Last Generation, Letzte Generation. So yeah, I'm Henning, and I've been my journey goes through Extinction Rebellion and then setting up Last Generation in Germany. And then after all the big drama with that and all the legal cases and all the discussions all around the country and every show mentioning you, and there's now a word as well, a word new in the German language about the climate gluers. That's a new created word and so on, and everything about that and being called criminal organization, all that is still ongoing. And so we've created a bit of a network of people that are still connected, also different projects that have come up out of it. But yeah, I'm happy to present. Since February, we have been building up the Neue Generation, which is basically continuing with the I like this, like a hand stop saying, like the putting the being very clear about what's going wrong and bringing that into the public daily lives. And so there's protests going on, and then our other part is also the building up part. So that's way stronger now with Neue Generation than beforehand with Last Generation, with Letzte Generation. So we've always said we need a system change in a way with revolution that means people power, citizens assemblies. We call that Gesellschaftsrat in German here. And so while saying that's important beforehand, now we create these places, or at least prototypes of these places. And so I will try to share with you just a picture of what we had in May. We recreated the kind of you see the structure on the parliament building behind that. That's the parliament of the money of the big lobbyists there in the back. And in front, there's the parliament of the people. So it's a clear confrontation of a dual power situation in one image. So this was you can see here, I think it's someone giving a talk right before it starts. So yeah, we've done this with 60 people, and then we've done it again in October, trying to be ourselves learning how to do sortition assemblies with just a few €1,000 with our limited power, and with building it up. And so this is now our challenge to, after these parliaments of the people that we did, build more of these also up locally, like People's Assembly. We're now doing it in Berlin, and other places are preparing it so that there can be more of these places where people say the assemblies are the starting point that creates narratives where then action can follow up. And I want to share with you just one story about the latest actions that we did in October. In general, we were in our actions were very much like before it was a very climate heavy narrative. Now it's very like anti-corruption heavy narrative. So we called the current government, with all its ties to the big, like we have a chancellor of BlackRock and all these big bank people, finance people, all the weapons and oil and so on. And so we called them the Merz Mafia. So Chancellor Merz and the mafia narrative is in there already because they accused us of being a mafia at some point. And so we say that's the Merz Mafia, be careful of them. And we did some house raids where we went into offices of the political party or of the lobbyists that are connected to them. and said, "Oh, no, wait, we are private investigators here. We need to seal that off for today. There can not be anything in that because we need to be looking into the mafia-esque connections that you are having here." So an investigation is ongoing, and that created many people liking these actions and laughing about them. So an action where you can laugh at very easily is one that gets spread more. And so yeah, maybe I leave it at that. So do a razzia, a house raid at a Merz Mafia place is what we've done in October. And so now we're looking for what to do next year. That surely will have the Parliament of the People come back in some form, and the local structures getting stronger as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Henning. Yeah, I think you guys win the funniest measure of success by getting a word added to your language. It's quite impressive. I'll pass over to Max if you'd like to jump in, please. Thank you.
No problem. No, I also haven't prepared a presentation, but I'm here to represent Drop Fossil Subsidies. We are also a Swiss-based civil resistance group. We've been part of the A22 Network sort of since we were founded or sort of started roughly 2 years ago. And we are mostly based in the German part of Switzerland with the demand focusing around fossil subsidies and demanding that the government stop spending 12 billion Swiss francs a year to further fossil infrastructure. And we use this demand to sort of highlight how far the government is going the wrong way and try to use civil resistance tactics to highlight this, as well as build up alternative pathways and people power, grassroots power. We're currently right now in an action phase. We've been disrupting billionaires, CEOs, and leading politicians in Switzerland who are fighting against a referendum on inheritance tax for the richest 0.1%. So we're using these sort of bird dogging tactics, which are much more well known in the UK and US than here in Switzerland. And we've been utilizing these tactics here now to disrupt them, take the platforms away from them, and basically challenge them. We also try to use sort of provocative language and provocative framings and imagery to sort of provoke a debate in public, and as well as sort of reframe leading politicians and CEOs as actual climate criminals. We recently did one. We copied the old RAF, this is the Rote Armee-Fraktion, terrorist group from Germany in the 80s, and their wanted poster. We copied that and put leading Swiss politicians and media figures and CEOs on there, for which we are now being sued by one of Switzerland's biggest newspapers. So we're looking forward to that court case and being able to use the media around that. And yeah, like a lot of those, we use civil resistance tactics. We also have a very big focus on building ecology of movements. So we try to work with and partner with other Swiss movements and collectives to build up collective power.
Brilliant.
And if
Thank
you
you.
want to see our actions, follow us on Instagram.
Yes, and if you're in the area, there's a link that's in the chat which will let you find your local A22 group, and you can join up and have some fun. Okay, right. Technical difficulties potentially fixed. We'll find out in about 5 seconds time. But yeah, I'll pass over to Italy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lupa, and I am part of Ultima Generazione, which is the Italian campaign of the A22 Network. Thank you for the invitation. I'm sorry we couldn't be present today, but we are all meeting at an important strategy building weekend. So unfortunately, everybody is busy today, so I had to record this video. I'll try and be as synthetic as possible, presenting the campaign that we have created in the last 8 months, and I will briefly say some of the things that have gone really well and the things that we can improve on, because obviously those always exist. So first thing, we decided as part of a more collective process to focus our new campaign on food. So we were coming from a more traditional climate campaign, like many of the other A22 campaigns, And as part of the core group and a larger group inside Ultima Generazione, we decided to choose food as our main focus. This for a few reasons. First, this is Italy, so people have a big emotional and cultural attachment to food. And the second thing is that we wanted to test a topic in which we could talk about the climate crisis in much more practical, everyday terms. And for us, foods was the perfect bridge between talking about agriculture and how agriculture is both the problem, and can be the solution to many emissions, but also it allows us to talk about how much prices are rising. And in Italy, really, we've seen some products like olive oil, for example, which obviously is very important here, double in the last 10 years. So there's very, very concrete examples of how certain extreme events have impacted agriculture and therefore the price of food. So our idea was to shift from, the climate crisis, not this huge catastrophic thing, to something much more practical every day, which was also very much connected to the culture of Italy and so not something that maybe was born somewhere else, like XR was born somewhere else, but we wanted to make it as more local as possible. And the last thing I'll say is on this is that we wanted the climate crisis to present itself also as an economic crisis, as a social crisis. So the main thoughts and drive behind choosing the topic of food and food prices was this. So we started doing similar high-risk actions, mainly in front of political institutions like the Parliament, the Senate, which did go quite well. We also pointed at very luxurious restaurants to try and talk more about inequalities, right? Inequalities in terms of food. Who can access good food, who cannot? So the main drive behind this was to be able to speak about more social, economic crises rather than just the climate, which is how we were seen as before. And some of the things that went well, before I'll go to things that went well and things that we can improve, we did these actions that I just listed, and then we started a boycott, which is still ongoing. The logic behind this was mainly to have an action that could be much more accessible to everybody. So it is a combination of the boycotts of supermarkets once a week, with high-risk action and also medium, low-risk actions within supermarkets, which have gone all right. So to make it brief, advantages, things that have gone well and things that could be improved. What we noticed that went well is that there was a shift in how the press and the social media reacted to us. They actually understood the message of shifting from climate to social and economic, whilst seeing that the two things were connected. So even though the quantity of articles and interviews on us has diminished in terms of mainstream press, the things that did get out were on point with our message. So this is mainstream media. Social media. Our social media has doubled. So it took us 3 years to get to 100,000 followers, and now we've doubled to 220 in 6 months. So I don't know. We haven't decided yet what the cause of this is, but I think that changing the topic from climate crisis to everyday problem and doing less roadblocks, we've almost eliminated that, has increased in the social media following. The boycotts also, in terms of digital organizing, has gone really well. We've tested a lot of WhatsApp groups and this newsletter, and meta ads, money chats, also on social media. That was another big thing, which is like a bot that answers to people directly. So that has helped a lot, and we've gotten better at, we've learned actually to use them, which is something we weren't doing before. What has not gone so well, as I was saying, mainstream media, we've struggled to have like the sort of attention we had before, and mobilization. Yes, we've had a few people come in, new people that have refreshed, but not the sort of numbers that we were expecting whilst offering like low risk actions. So we still haven't figured out what the funnel of mobilization should be, because sometimes it seems like what we ask is too little, then it's too much, or it's too much information. Like we struggle to get out of this loop. So I think those are the biggest, the most synthetic, complete summary I can give you of the Italian project. And yes, Connie and Becky have my contacts, and so does Tabby. So if you have more questions or anything like that, I'd be happy to chat. And thank you. Have a good rest of the conference. Bye.
Okay, nice one. Glad that worked. Okay, Leo, over to you, mate.
Yes, thanks, Ed. So hi, everyone. My name is Leor, and I'm part of the Swedish A22 campaign, Återställ våtmarker or Restore Wetlands, as Helene previously said. We started our campaign. I will do a little bit of a history lesson of our campaign and what went well and what we're doing now and into the future. But we started our campaign in March 2022, which is with the demand to restore wetlands and ban peat mining. And for you who don't know what peat is, it's basically brown coal, but dirtier. So the first 2 years of our campaign, we did what all the other A22 campaigns have been doing peaceful actions in proportion to the climate collapse. We went out to the highways day after day after day until every person in our country would know who we were and what we wanted. But as you know, the repression didn't wait. During the first year, the politicians and the prosecutors wanted us in jail and suspected and charged us for sabotage. And sabotage in Sweden, the Sabotage Act was created after the Second World War, and it was meant to cover the act of blowing up roads, water pipes, and other infrastructure of importance. And now they wanted to use that on peaceful protesters sitting on the road, just explaining the obvious. Restore wetlands because it's the easiest, most effective way to lower the emissions in Sweden and crisis-proof Sweden from drought to wildfires and flooding. Viable wetlands are crucial to reducing the effects of the climate collapse. And in addition to sequestering and store enormous amounts of carbon, they protect against flooding and drought, create wildfire or fire breaks in forest, and secure and purify groundwater, and of course safeguarding biodiversity. And peatlands make up only 3% of Earth's land surface, but store twice as much carbon as the world's forests combined. So it was pretty obvious that this is what needs to be done. But the repression didn't stop us, as it hasn't done to any of other sister campaigns. We did continue to sit on the roads and disrupt cultural and sport events, just like our comrades in the other A22 campaigns, and got a real boom of coverage. In the beginning of 2024, we declared victory for the Restore Wetlands and had educated the public about the importance of wetlands, and approximately 75 to 90% of the public knew who we were in 2024. And the discourse in society was overwhelming positive to restoring wetlands, and through our civil resistance, it came to a point when it became political priorities and policies to restore wetlands. So in 2024, some of the biggest news outlets said as it was, and this is a quote, "The movement Restore Wetlands, when it appeared as a bizarre phenomenon. The message has gone from incomprehensible to actual politics, climate activism that has actually created change." So we declared victory in 2024 and changed strategies and started to focus on our second demand, which was ban peat mining. So from here, we stopped having demands and asking for the politicians to do something about the problem. We started doing the work ourselves. We started restoring peatlands ourselves with shovels in our hands. In 2024, we started a collaboration with a small village of Grimsås. Grimsås, this small village, had tried for many, many years to stop the peat mining on the moss next to them. But both the ears from the local council or county council and the government were closed. So we came with our shovels in our hands and started to stop the destruction of the place. And for 2 years now, Grimsås has been on the top of the front of the news coverage, both in Sweden and in Finland, since it's the Finnish state-owned company Neova who is destroying the bog in 73% of all the peat mining sites in Sweden, while at the same time getting over 466 million euros to phase out their own peat mining in Finland. So we created great friendships with these people of Grimsås and also built a nature reserve on the place to protect what was possible and show what we wanted instead. Also now the repression has hit us hard, and over 60 people from the ages of 18 to 80 have been suspected for trespassing, and almost as many are being suspected of severe trespassing, which is 3 years in prison, for walking out on a bog with a shovel. It's madness. But as before, we do not stop. Now, after being in Grimsås for 2 years, we are in a new exciting era of our campaign. The Committee of Environmental Objectives that put up suggestions for the parliament to vote to meet their environmental goals have put a suggestion for a ban on new peat mining sites from 2026. And 3 parties have taken the suggestion and put forward motions mentioning Grimsås, sometimes plenty of times, for a ban on peat mining and reconsider all previous licenses. So what's happening now? Restore Wetlands is giving the peat mining a last push and is at the same time moving one way closer to our vision, which is a more true democracy with a citizen assembly with mandate. We will do a first ever disobedience referendum in Sweden. Hand in hand with disruptive actions, we will mobilize people to campaign for a no to peat mining, showing the people that democracy lies in their own hands and that we don't need to wait for corrupt politicians to get our voices heard. And then we go to Stockholm for 3 weeks of disruptive slow walks on the highways with more people than we've ever been. And when the results come from the referendum, we will encourage the people to take a spade and start plugging the draining peatlands themselves. It's time for us to talk about democracy. It's time to show that we can do it ourselves and not need to wait for anyone else to do the things that needs to be done. So this is Restore Wetlands and also Våtmarker right now. We're in a really exciting time. And if you want to read more about Återställ Våtmarker or Restore Wetlands and the impact of our campaign, you can read the newly released report from Social Change Lab. What was the impact of the Swedish Restore Wetlands campaign, which I think Helene is posting in the chat right now, or maybe Ed. And and if you want to get in contact with us, you can always send us a mail or email, or go into the social medias and write to us there. Or you can just ask me for your contacts afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you, Leo. It's great to hear about wins. It's I think it's really important to know that there have been lots of wins. Like it's not just bleak times. Although I think I'm getting ahead of myself because that's one of the questions I'm going to be asking you. So what we're going to do now is go into a little bit of panel discussion. So I'm going to just ask a question. Anyone can feel free to jump in. And then after that, we'll do some questions from the audience. So yeah, make sure if you're in the audience to send some questions in. The first question I would like to ask is what common challenges have you found? So obviously you're all based in different countries, but what problems have transcended national barriers?
The problems that we've been facing is that it was bloody hard to mobilize new people when everyone got the crime suspicion of sabotage. And that made us really have to strategize in another way to slowly start growing. But in the end, and I think this is the most hopeful thing to say, in the end, it was quite clear that a tiny small group of people And we were a very small group of people up till, we still are, but up till when the politicians said, now we're making restoring wetlands one out of 3 prioritized goals in our climate plan. We've been small, really small, but you can do stuff anyway, and you can change your society. And I just want to say that to encourage people to do what's needed to be done. Sorry for swearing.
Yeah, I guess moving from that, how have you managed to work cross-country? Like, how's the cooperation amongst you? Obviously, all of you all over the place. So how does that work in practice?
I think Henning or maybe we can talk more about this. But what I have to say, I've been in the campaign for since the start, basically, but not being in any like special role until like a few years back. But we, as Helene said, we're meeting twice a year, and that's super important for the collaboration between our projects. We meet, we talk about heavy things, about victories, about setbacks. We talk about all the things that we can learn from each other, and also things about like ordinary stuff, as how do you just be a better person, I guess, and having so much fun at the same time, having parties and being human in a falling world. But also we having these different groups that we meet every week to talk about different topics. For example, strategy, for example, mobilization, media actions, and so on. So that's another way that we meet cross country. But also, of course, when we meet, we talk about different things that we can do together, and a lot of different campaigns have been meeting, have been collaborating. Stop Folk mot Fossilmakta, which is a Norwegian campaign, has been sending a lot of their activists to our side, and also the Danish campaign, Nødbremsen, have been sending people to Grimsås to digging to stop the destruction of the peat moss. And I know that different campaigns have been collaborating between the borders, which is something that we, of course, are doing and trying to do as much as possible when it's possible, of course. But that's some ways that we collab cross borders. Is there anything else that I missed?
Add something to that. Yeah, I think I share all what you shared, all these experiences, and there's been cross-pollination and inspiration as well, like with the sports events and all of that, like sharing some of the detailed kind of how a rhythm of in an event being big in media and your mobilization interact, or like how your on the ground work or your organization structure and all of these things. So like resource sharing. Yeah, and this inspiration really. I mean, it started for me with the Zooms that we had before the A22 network was born in April 22. So we tried to have a big thing in April 22. That's why the name A22 was there. And all the Zooms that started there really were the inspiration, I think, that made it possible for different people in different countries to not feel so alone. So I also, yeah, I read here in the chat as well, I completely share the feeling of, in what you say now, your groups, it's so active. There's so much stuff. Here in my place, there's nothing happening. Like this feeling is one that everyone has at the beginning. Like we're so small, we cannot do anything. And or sometimes it works in other countries, not in our place. Yeah, and there's obviously always differences between countries, but having this shared inspiration helped us right from the hunger strike in 2021 all the time. And then I wanted to add that we were helping each other get fundraising as well. So in the beginning, mostly like from some people who could give some more monies, like Climate Emergency Fund and something like that, that helped support different projects in the A22 network. And then later also stepping up our game of doing monthly donation systems where people in the countries can help the campaigns grow. How do you manage that kind of getting money for your operations?
Thank you both. Another question is, how do you measure success, especially when wins aren't immediately sometimes recognizable, or legislation goes really slowly? I guess this is, I think, anyone can answer this, but I think it's probably after what happened in the wetlands. I think it'd be quite interesting to hear from you guys, maybe Helen.
Yeah, well, we share a tool in between us, which is called meltwater. And through this, you can measure how often you appear in the newspapers and television and so on. And then you can also see, because this was also a goal, to constantly be on the front page and sitting in the Tiva sofa. We haven't been there yet, but we're still hoping. But anyway, you can transform all these hits in the media into real money, which is also, I can't remember what the tool is called. But for instance, the media coverage we had in Restore Wetlands during 2022 and 2023 equals, in Swedish crowns, 848 million, which is enormous amount of money that, for instance, IKEA would have to pay to get the same amount of coverage as we did. So that's one thing, and maybe someone else wants to add another aspect.
I think one aspect is also the fact that how many people join your movements, how can you grow in your movements, but also like not only quantity, but also how many people can you empower to take on responsibilities, to feel safe and able and yes, to take on some responsibilities, to lead some actions, to design an action, whatever. So these are all skills that you need to learn over time, and I think it's one of the main indicator for us is also to have these small internal measures, like how do the people feel within the movement and how empowered they feel. Yes.
Thank you both. Yeah, I guess it's very much a case of being attached to the process and not the outcome. Because when you do that, it means you actually, you don't get depressed when nothing happens. But what you do is create a massive community, which is just as important. So yeah, thank you so much for that. I've got a bit more of a personal one as well. Anyone can feel free to jump in on this one, but Roal and Max, it'd be great to hear from you guys. What personally keeps you going while everything feels so bleak?
For me, it's mostly the community, the people around that makes me still want to go forward and knows that I will have support. But indeed, it's very difficult to get going. I would say also, just to know about what people are doing in other countries, other movements. It's very inspiring to understand new tactics, new mobilizations, new topics to deep dive in. So many things to get inspired by.
Max,
I can jump in here. I think I'd keep it relatively short until someone shows me a better way to actually manage this crisis and get out of it. We'll keep going with this one. And that doesn't just mean civil disobedience, using a range of sort of activist tactics that could also be outside the system and things like that. But yeah.
Thank you very much, both. Couple of questions from the audience, and then we'll have to wrap up. First one it's a direct question for you, Leo, which is about how neuroscience tells us that people do not want to connect to negative campaigns, i.e. no to wetlands destruction. Have you considered using yes to wetlands improvement instead, or something along those lines?
Yeah, that's a constant debate in our own groups. Should we say yes for or no for? We have decided to say no for destruction of wetlands, or no to peat mining, which Helene might be able to explain a little bit more in depth why, but has been a long discussion back and forth of why this and not that. Helene, would you like to explain?
The first thing, the whole autumn, we've been discussing this disobedient referendum the whole autumn. But it's much cooler to say, I voted no than to say I voted yes. So that's one thing. Now, to be serious, you know, you get this double negotiation to say yes to ban peat mining, no to ban peat mining. So for us, it's easier to say no to peat mining or yes to peat mining. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, this I will tell you another time, but it doesn't really matter because the most important thing about the referendum, the disobedience referendum, is that we can take the power in our own hands. So it doesn't matter how many votes or do not vote, even though we will do our best to get as many as possible to vote no. The most important